How is Tammy Abraham doing at Roma? The answer is pretty well. He's playing as part of a 3-5-2 under Jose Mourinho, who took him from Chelsea. Playing as part of a two-man strike force. Sometimes he plays as a lone one. You might have like Veretout and Pellegrini behind him like this, but largely what he's been doing is playing as part of a two here. Now, he rarely leaves the width of the 6-yard box, or even more commonly, this sort of width here where the goalkeeper plays. That's mostly where Tammy Abraham plays. You'll find him round about here. He drops deep sometimes to get involved, but he has very few touches of the ball. In context, he has 32.7 touches per 90 this season. Only Rui Patricio, the goalkeeper, has fewer, according to FBref. Also, I mean, that is kind of common within goal scorer poachers. So players like Jimmy Vardy also have very few touches of the ball, but what they do with it is what counts. And also, the thing is, when you compare where he touches the ball, he's obviously not going to get touches back here because he's not a defender. But what he does do is receive the ball more often in the attacking third. 15.1 touches per 90 in attacking third, but that's also quite low. For context, Pellegrini, who plays alongside him or just behind him, is often around about 26.2 per 90. But ignore the touches, that's the kind of thing that normally happens with poachers like Abraham is. This is his statistical data from FBref compared to other strikers in the top 5 leagues over the last 365 days. Now, he's not amazing. He is playing very well for Roma, and one of the things he's done this season is beat the record set by Batistuta and Vincenzo Montella, who are two legends of the club who scored 21 goals in their first season at Roma. Abraham has scored more than that, he scored 25. But this is his numbers the rest of the season. You can see his defensive work is really high. Now, rather than showing you how he's actually done that and changed that, what he said is that Mourinho has helped him with his defensive positioning. So he says he's very much in awe of Mourinho still, looked up to him when he was in the Chelsea youth teams. But he's learned his positioning to play in that Mourinho thing, and he works hard as part of the high press. And Mourinho's Roma do press from the front. So it looks kind of a bit like this. You might have in this 3-5-2 formation, they do press high, this Mourinho team. So Abraham might be leading the press alongside Pellegrini. It's why his numbers are quite high in terms of pressures. And say a team wants to play out from the back, Abraham's job will be to try and position himself between the goalie and the centre back. Once the ball goes here, he'll then come round this side, so the ball can't go back. He might try and show it in here, where they'd win the ball here, and basically lead it. It doesn't have to win the ball, although his tackles numbers are quite high. But then what they're trying to do is set a pressing trap, because when you press high like this, your 3 centre backs, which Mourinho now plays, will be back here, and the free men in this sort of shape, in the 5-2-1-2 shape, are going to be these wide guys here. But that's who the wing backs are tasked with getting close to. They might move up here. Centre backs can't come too far out because that's going to give them a bit of a problem. But what they do is lead a pressing trap to someone like this, might push it back in here, back into here. And when the ball gets to this guy, it means that someone like Ibanez or Mancini on this side pushes in close, really aggressive, they can win the ball back. And then a classic Mourinho counter-attack where they combine very quickly to find Abraham in the width of the 6-yard box or near the goal to try and score. And he's always in the 6-yard box. I can show you exactly how often he does it, because here are all of his shots in Serie A this season. They're almost all in this little bit. They're all exactly where we want to be, in high value XG positions of the goal. And I can actually show you specific examples of that, because here's a very blurry screen grab. That's Abraham there. The ball's coming in from the wide area, he's just right in the middle of the goal from a corner. He always seems to find space from corners. If we look here, again in the corner, exactly in the middle of the box. This is the second phase of the corner, the ball goes from this guy to this guy, it's swung in, and then what ends up happening is a bit of a rammy in the box, and Abraham just holds position. He just finds a little yard of space within the box to score a poacher's goal. It's very rare he doesn't do that sort of thing. And what you see a lot of his goals are, again, this exact position. Roma attack on the left side this time with the fullback or the wing back. The ball goes low across the box. He times his run just to get in front of the defender to be able to tap it in. One of the things I would say is different about Abraham at Roma as compared to someone like Chelsea is that the players he's playing against just aren't quite as good. The level is a bit lower. And you can see it in individual situations like this here. This defender here should be a yard back. He should just be there. Abraham's playing himself onside with this guy. This guy has to realise that, and it's just poor play. And there's loads of examples of him just being found loose in the box. A lot of his goals are just him standing in the 6-yard box, ball comes over, he's tall, and he nods it in. That happens quite a lot. And it's always been the same, because here he is at Chelsea the season before. This was under Frank Lampard, actually, his 1920 season. Always in this sort of area here. Now, Thomas Tuchel didn't play him quite so much, said he didn't trust him, and what I think he means by that is that Abraham tends to shoot just slightly under his XG. He gets a high volume of shots, so the expected goals tends to be like an all right level for a Premier League or European standard striker, but he shoots just under it. For example, this season in Serie A, he's 19.2 expected goals, but he scored 15. That's an underperformance. And then you have last season in Chelsea with Tuchel, it was 6.4 expected goals to 6 goals. Admittedly, a lot of his games came off the bench. He only started 12 times, 10 substitute appearances under Tuchel. Season before that, this season here, was with Lampard, where he played, he scored 15 goals in about 36 games with an XG of 14.1. So it's all right. Like he's scoring just over his XG there. That's really good. But that's him consistently getting a run. But it's not enough for what Chelsea wanted to do, which is why they brought in a player like Romelu Lukaku, who has also struggled. Now, one of the things I'll say with Abraham in here as well is that one of the things you see with him when he was playing for Chelsea was he'd often stand on the last line, as centre forwards often do. I'll show you what I mean by this. Now, Abraham is always a striker, tends to play in this sort of area, doesn't tend to leave this, occasionally drops deep to allow counter movement, so players like Pellegrini can go in behind. So if he drops, it allows players to go forward and make runs in behind, but generally speaking, he stands up top. Now, when the team gets closer to the goal, it often looks like he's not making as much movement as you might want a player like him to make. So say we've got the team's defending and they're a bit tighter, and Abraham's playing off the last man. What you'll often see, and I'll try and show you some examples, is that he doesn't move much. He's just sort of here, and the team who's defending against him has pretty much a read on where he is. They know where he is. He's not going to be able to get any space because they tighten up the gap and he can't do much. Now, he's a player that likes to win a little bit of space to shoot. But he often receives the ball with his back to goal like this. So he'd be like that. Now, the ball sometimes bounces off him. His first touch isn't the absolute best, but he's good at fighting off players. He's quite a physical guy. He's strong enough, but he's clever with it. So he'll often be like this. What he's added to his game recently with Roma is that when he receives the ball, he might have his back to goal at a certain time, then he'll turn side on slightly so he can receive it with the defender still to his back, so he can receive it on one foot to give him a chance to shoot on his other. Normally controls on the left to shoot with his right. Here's an example. This is a goal he scores against Empoli. Abraham is here, 2 defenders on him. He can't get away from them. Now, the player here, number 27, I think it's Mkhitaryan, doesn't really matter. He fires the ball into Abraham here with 2 players tight, and then takes a touch on his left, so he turns on his left and then shoots with his right straight away. So the ball comes in, fired in here, turns on his left and shoots on his right. 1 touch, well 2 touch, goal. Another example, here he is, between the centre-backs who are trying to keep a hold of him. Roma are building in this final third, getting into the final third here, and Abraham is looking to try and maybe run in behind here. He wants a pass fired from here into this area, so he runs in behind them. But what happens instead is the ball comes to him on his right foot, he's back to goal, he turns on it and then just finds a little yard of space to shoot from here, scores from outside the box. It's not always inside the box that he scores, he occasionally does this thing. This is what he's added to his game at Roma this season under Mourinho. He's doing a lot of defensive work, which he wasn't doing before. His positioning has improved with that. He's also able to score goals that he's creating himself with little tight touches in areas. What he's always done is being able to find himself in positions where he can just sort of turn up at the back post or at the near post and score. That's something he's never had a trouble with. But what you often need in a striker at the elite level is someone who can offer a bit more. His build-up play is definitely improved. He's getting to these positions here to be able to score the goals that have driven Roma to a Europa Conference final. So, Tammy Abraham is doing pretty well this season. He's beaten Batistuta and Montello's record at Roma. That's pretty good. Is he as good as Gabriel Batistuta? I don't know, but it doesn't matter. That's it. So yes, well done Tammy. Thanks for watching. Give this video a like please if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to the channel. Have a lovely time.
If you like this video, please consider subscribing to the channel. The Athletic brings you the best sports journalism in the world in a personalised experience, connecting you with the stories and teams that you care about the most. There's coverage of 13 sports, plus direct access to world-class journalists through live Q&As, discussions and podcasts. Not to mention, it's all ad-free. And you can try it now for free for 30 days by clicking the link in the description.